One of the more recent plugins that came out for Microsoft Flight Simulator is Aerosoft's Simple Traffic tool. This came out in November of 2021 and makes other traffic look better in your simulator. Although Microsoft Flight Simulator has default AI models such as the A330 and the A380, you'll notice that there aren't really any airlines in the simulator. For example, you won't see aircraft from British Airways or American Airlines. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what exactly this plugin does so you can be more informed about if it's something for you. First and for all, installing this 1.6 GB plugin was extremely simple and doesn't require any settings to be configured. When you load up the sim, you'll notice that Aerosoft Simple Traffic has painted the default models with real-world liveries. This is the main goal of the plugin and essentially what you're paying for. I think it's really important to realize here that the plugin does not add any aircraft models to the simulator. So if you'd really like to see a 737 or a Q400, which currently aren't in the simulator, this plugin will unfortunately not be able to help you out, since all this add-on does is add new liveries to the existing AI models. This also means that the developers had to make some compromises when it comes to realism. For example, occasionally you'll see an EasyJet A330 flying around. And this may be really nitpicky, but if you're someone who has flown EasyJet in real life, you will of course know that the airline will not be flying the gigantic A330 anytime soon. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy here between the real world and your simulator. So if you're expecting this plugin to give you a full fleet of realistic real-world aircraft, then you may want to be careful before you buy this and be aware of what you're actually purchasing. On the other hand, from a distance, it's difficult to tell the difference between aircraft types anyways, so I can imagine there are people out there who aren't too bothered about these little details. This plugin also definitely gives airports a slightly more realistic feel to them. I mean, it's pretty cool to see KLM aircraft at Schiphol Airport and British Airways in London. And since we're on this topic, it's maybe worth considering that this add-on is only really relevant when you're taxiing around airports. So if you're someone who has invested in a bunch of scenery and you enjoy doing a full flight from start to finish, including the taxi, then this may be a neat thing to have. Conversely, if you find taxiing around airports kind of boring and dull, well then you're probably not watching this video anyways, since this plugin isn't really for you. One other thing I think I should mention is the underlying AI algorithm. Asobo have developed an algorithm which tries its best to manage how AI aircraft take off and land. Now in X-Plane we have plugins like World Traffic which completely overhaul how aircraft route themselves both in the air and on the ground. But World Traffic is also significantly more expensive than Aerosoft Simple Traffic. And for Simple Traffic, it's again important to realize that this plugin does not change any of the underlying decision making that the AI aircraft are doing in the simulator. Whereas other plugins like World Traffic and X-Plane actually do make the aircraft fly smarter and make them fly more realistic routes in the air. Coming to the liveries themselves, after doing a little bit of research, I learned that Aerosoft have made the models more efficient by removing the amount of polygons. Without going into the details of what this means, what Aerosoft have done here is optimize Microsoft Flight Simulator's AI models to make them slightly more efficient. So the good news here is that this plugin will definitely not affect your frame rates in any way. At the time of making this video, we currently have 160 airlines available to us, with Aerosoft apparently planning to add more in future updates. The nice thing about these liveries is that they do turn up in the right places on the planet because the plugin does take into account where you are located. So for example, if you're in Schiphol, you'll see KLM, and if you're in London, you'll see British Airways, which is pretty cool to be fair. So hopefully now you've got a little bit of a taste in terms of what exactly this plugin does and how it does it. Now for the rest of the video, I'm going to give my personal opinion on what I think of this plugin. As a disclaimer, Aerosoft did very kindly send this over to us here at Threshold, but they also gave us complete freedom to say what we want about it, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. First and for all, I'm of course no developer when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator, so I have no idea how difficult it is to develop liveries or change the default aircraft. But what I must say is that as someone who has been using X-Plane for a long time, is that I do find it surprising that in X-Plane we can get entire libraries of 3D aircraft models for free. Now these libraries can of course only be used in combination with online networks like FatSim and Iveo, but it does make me wonder why this plugin costs $15 when it seems like in other simulators we can do this stuff for free. But who knows, maybe this is down to differences between X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator. For example, it could be that it's very difficult to make these models for Microsoft Flight Simulator anyways, and that's why it's so expensive. On the other hand, Aerosoft do seem to be offering something unique here. I mean, if it was easy to do what they've done with this plugin, then I'm guessing someone else would have done this already or even for free. So if you really do want to see your favorite airlines in the simulator and you're willing to pay the price, then by all means go and check this out. Personally, I'm going to wait a little bit and see how the platform matures, because maybe similar plugins will be released in the future. But for now, Aerosoft seems to have done a great job with this, and Simple Traffic does exactly what it says on the tin. If you own the plugin, please leave a comment and share your experience, since you may help someone else out in making a decision. And finally, I'd like to say thanks to Aerosoft for giving me the opportunity to take a look at this. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see each other again in the next video.